All right, so it's 11:30 a.m. I want to say good morning to all of you who are joining us to our second session of the day. My name is Felix Sanchez. I'm a graduate of Hostos Community College from the class of 2002, and I am the Alumni Relations Manager at the Office of Alumni Relations. On behalf of the Division of Institutional Advancement, the Office of Alumni Relations, and Eugenio Maria de Hostos Community College, I extend a warm welcome to each of you attending our Financial Empowerment Seminar this morning. It is a privilege to have our students, Team Hostos alumni, dedicated staff, and faculty members in attendance. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Just a few housekeeping reminders. This presentation will be recorded for future reference. We kindly request that all participants remain muted throughout the duration of the session. We also encourage all attendees to please ask questions throughout the presentation using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will have a dedicated time at the end of the session to address them all. Thank you for your cooperation. As part of a busy agenda for the day, the Financial Empowerment Seminar was organized to provide the Hostos community with a valuable opportunity to improve our financial knowledge and skills. We trust that the information you receive today will assist you in refining your financial goals and achieving success. For this session's topic, improving credit and managing debt, our featured speaker is a community manager in the Bronx, New York for community and business development. She is a local ambassador for Chase, whose job is to build and nurture relationships with community leaders, nonprofit partners, and small businesses at the neighborhood level. She hosts financial health workshops, facilitates nonprofit partnerships, and offers community programming. She is helping to advance racial equity by supporting Black and Latinx communities with tools and resources to help them improve their financial well-being. With over 14 years of experience in the financial services industry, she has held a number of positions, including Financial Center Manager, Assistant Manager, Relationship Manager, and Universal Banker. She is currently a member of Adelante, Aspire, Bold, NextGen, and Women on the Move, among others. She currently lives in the Bronx and spends her free time reading, cooking, and traveling. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Sherlyn Santana. Sherlyn, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Felix. I mean, after that introduction, I don't even know what to say. But once again, my name is Sherlyn Santana. I am a vice president community manager for JP Morgan Chase. So what I do, I teach financial literacy, right? So I teach people how to save, how to budget, and how to build credit. A little bit about myself and my background, even though Felix pretty much said it all. I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. I came here at the age of 9, so English is my second language. I actually went to Lehman College and I obtained my degree in political science and Italian. So one of the things that I always tell everyone, please don't ask me anything in Italian because I will fail at this point. However, I am so glad to be able to teach this class to you. And I just want to share something with you guys. I know it's a little off topic, but I just signed for my master's program. So I am a walking proof that after 20 years, you can continue your studies and be successful. So I just wanted to share that out because I am super, super proud. Now, today's class, we're going to talk about credit. Let me share my screen and please, please, please let me know if you can't see it so we could go ahead and get started. Okay, let's see. And thumbs up. You guys see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Now, I want to talk about credit, right? Because this particular class, we're going to talk about how to improve credit. However, in order for us to know how to improve credit, we need to start at the basic on how to be able to build credit, how to be able to establish credit. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this class, I want this class to be interactive. So, what is the first thing that comes to mind when I throw the word credit at you guys? And you guys could feel free to type it in the chat. And Felix, I might need your help for this because for some reason I won't be able to read the chat. But if anyone has a question, yes, I've seen someone. Mortgage. What else? What's the first thing that comes to mind when we think about credit? Credit score. Yes. Anything else?
Credit cards.
Credit cards. Felix, you can't participate.
I didn't mean to cheat. I'm cheating. Okay. All right.
You're cheating. It's okay. Christmas shopping, I love that because you know what it is? We get ourselves into shopping and insane. But today's class, we're gonna talk about
Credit for a house.
there you go. But you know what? We need to know how to manage our credit in order to be able to accomplish that particular goal. So we're going to talk about understanding the credit score, right? Checking your credit score, your report, how to get started, and how to protect your credit. Because at the end of the day, that leads into improving debt and managing anything that has to do with credit. So we're going to talk about understanding credit. So credit, the physical definition of credit, it's the ability for you to buy something now and pay it later, right? So in my country, for those of us that speak Spanish, it's similar to vamos a coger fiado, right? So it's like you buying something now, the bank gives you time, and then you pay it back. And then credit score. Credit score is an actual digit, three-digit number that pretty makes everything, all your credit history into those three digits. And then we have the credit report. The way I like to talk about and define credit report, anything you do on a given basis, anything you do either by you breathing too hard gets reported into that report itself. And then we have credit bureaus. Now I want to throw a question at you guys. Can anyone tell me what are the three credit bureaus? Anyone? You could type it in the chat if you want. What are the three main credit bureaus, and why is it important for us to know what they are? Okay, yes. Okay, Felix. Okay, Experian. Okay, I know Miss Atkin is also there. Okay, TransUnion. So yes, it's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Yes, thank you, Leslie. Equifax. Why? Why is it important for us to know? Because everything that we do gets reported to those three credit bureaus. Now, when it comes down to credit score, there is a range. Can anyone tell me the range of the credit score? I know a lot of us think that credit start at zero, but do we actually start at zero? Anyone?
500 and up.
Oh, someone. It's almost, but wait a minute. I seen someone in the chat that wrote 300 to 850. I think, were you part of my class before? Okay, I'll show you the range and what does that mean to you guys, right? So obviously we want to make sure that we have great, excellent credit score. Why? Because that actually is going to give us the ability for us to be able to buy things that we need in the future if we don't have the money cash. Now, it goes from 300 to 850. So 300 to 500 is very poor. 500 to 601 is poor. 601 to 661 is fair. And then everything else falls into the good and excellent part. Now, without using Google, I like to throw trivia questions at you. Think about the American population. How many of us in the US? It's a lot of us. How many of the American population you guys believe fall into that excellent credit margin?
20%.
Oh, 22. Leslie, were you part of my class? I feel like you were 50%, 50%. So I'll tell you what, the actual number varies depending on different factors, but it's between 12 and 16% of the American population. Why? Because everything that we do on a given basis changes. And I'll tell you why, right? Because sometimes, let's say, we go back into what happened in 2020 when the pandemic hit, a lot of us lost our jobs, and then we went in and utilized our credit, and then that made the credit fluctuate. So yes and no. Now, what are the factors that determine our credit score? Payment history, 40%. So we have to make sure we make our payments on time. Why? Because if we don't make our payments on time, then that's when the credit goes down south, like I said, right? And then and I'm going to give you guys another question because I love to give questions because I feel like this is the way we actually remember things. Think about this graph for a second. If you have a credit card and the credit card is payment, it's due on the 5th of the month. However, the 5th happens to lie on a Saturday or a Sunday. When do we pay that particular credit card?
Beforehand.
What's beforehand? So if go ahead.
Yes, beforehand, like that Friday, you could pay it.
Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because if you don't make the payment on that Friday, Saturday and Sunday technically are not business days. So the credit cards can actually report you being late because you're not making the credit card on time. So it's always recommended that you pay the credit card before it's due. And in order for you guys to be able to manage the debt on a credit card, if you can make two payments a month before the due date, that will actually save you when it comes down to interest. Why? Because you're making double payment. Now, the second payment will go towards your principal, lowering the interest rate that you'll be paying. So it's always good that you guys make at least two payments if you can. I know it sounds sometimes impossible, but that's one of the things that we tell you guys to be able to do. Now, going back to the factors, I'm sorry. Um, credit, available credit, recent credit behaviors, balances, percentage, and age. Another question, because I feel like we learn by teaching questions. If you have a credit card in the amount of $1,000, how much can we utilize on that particular credit card?
The full amount.
The full amount. Ooh, 400. Somebody else. Anybody else?
You can't go below
30%.
30%. I mean,
30%.
above.
Yes, 30%. So think about that. You have a credit card in the amount of $1,000. Technically, we cannot utilize more than 30%. Why? Because it looks like then you don't know how to manage your credit and your credit score goes down. So that's the reason why we always want to make sure that we only utilize not more than 30% on the line. And I gave you the $1,000 example because that's the easiest way. So try not to utilize more than 30% because then again that's when the credit factor determines and your credit goes down. Now going back to the screen, the age is very important. Whenever you have a credit card, it's always, especially if you have it for a couple of years, it's always good to have it in there even if you're not utilizing. Try to utilize it here and there because if you close it, that also affects your credit history, and then that's when we mismanage the credit again. So the way we do it, smart, if you want to stop using a credit card because let's say they charging you high interest or anything of that nature, what you do, you pay it off and you don't use it. You let it become inactive. The minute you close a credit card, that affects your credit score and your credit score will go down again. So, and I want to give you guys an example. Let's say if you get a credit card and you owe $100, you pay the $100 now. Double check that credit card the following month because sometimes what tends to happen, they don't accumulate or they don't calculate the interest, and you will owe that particular credit card again, but it will be something under $1. However, a lot of us tend to forget and we don't go back and check, thinking, "Hey, I'm going to stop using the credit card." Now you owe $1, and guess what? Whenever you make a late payment, guess how long that stays in your record? 18 months. So imagine every time you make a late payment, it stays on your credit report for 18 months, holding your credit back for a year and a half. And I don't know about you guys, but anything can happen in a year and a half. So that's the reason why. And then I know someone mentioned Christmas shopping. Christmas shopping, I like to go back into that example because credit is very important. Every time you apply for a new line of credit, it brings your credit score down, whether or not you get approved or declined for that particular credit card. And I love Christmas shopping because, when you go Christmas shopping, you go to the mall and you go to every single store out there. And they're like, "Hey, Mr. Client, Miss Client, will you like 20% off if you apply for this particular credit card?" And guess what? Now we're stuck with that particular card. We did a credit inquiry, bringing our credit score down, affecting our credit again. I'm going to stop right there. I know I did a lot of talking. Anybody has any questions?
Yes, I do. Hi.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine. Good morning. So I have a few credit cards. Now, in one, especially I owe a lot, but they go by different amounts.
Okay.
So do you suggest to pay off the one with the higher amount or
So
vice versa?
there's two methods of how we could pay debt, right? And managing debt. You could either pay it by starting with the one that you owe the least or the one that you have the higher interest rate. Two things, right? Because I am a fan believer of paying the one that you owe the least. Why? Let's say if you have a couple of credit cards, one $200, another one you owe 5,000, 10,000. The moment you focus on one and you get to finish the one with the smaller amount, then you can focus on the next one. Why? Because now you don't owe that one. Now you're going to increase the amount that you have, meaning money wise, to be able to make the payments for the other credit cards.
Okay.
Now, the other way, the other method, it's the higher interest rate. Why? Because you want to make sure you get rid of that one because that's the one that's charging you the most. But remember, sometimes that could also be the credit card that you use the least because you know that has the higher interest rate. So you're trying to focus on the one with the smaller one. So there's a two method, it depending on how many credit cards you have and obviously what are the interest rates. What I would suggest for you to do, go home, check all your statements, see which one has the lowest interest rate and see how you can manage them. I think that would be the easiest way. Any other questions? No problem.
I have a question. And what happens when you cannot afford to pay all those credit cards? It's better to consolidate or you have
obviously when you're talking about different type of credit cards, the best way you could call the credit card companies and do a payment agreement. That's the best option because you don't want them to keep, charging you fees and reporting you. The best option will be to call each particular credit card company and tell them, hey, listen, I would like to make a payment agreement. And 9 out of 10, they're willing to work with you because the amount that you owe on the actual balances tend to be fees and interest. I think there's another question, right?
Yes, I just wanted to remind attendees to please hold your questions until the end, and if you could please submit them on the Q&A, and then we're going to have a better perspective of all the answers overall. So I have one here from Ms. Stewart, and
then we'll continue.
Ms. Barnes, if you could also provide it there on the Q&A, I would appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with that, let's continue, and then I will go back to at the end. Now, I want to show you guys this example because we go back into what's the difference when it comes down to credit. If you have poor, think about the graph that I showed you earlier. You'll be paying almost $8,000 more than someone that has excellent credit, right? And this is only an example of a $30,000 auto loan. Now, another thing that I would like to just to make you aware, and this is on personal experiences only. Whenever you go car shopping and you go to a dealership, just let them know that you only want, let's say, your credit to be run once, the bank of your choice. Why? Because a lot of dealerships, if you don't let them know, they will try to get your proof for an auto loan, but they will run your credit multiple times. And that has happened to me. It has happened to a couple of individuals that I personally know. So that's one of the things that I will want to make you guys aware. If you go car shopping, you let them know, hey, listen, please only run my credit to XYZ bank so my credit doesn't get damaged and it's not multiple credit inquiries at the same time, bringing your credit score down. Another aha moment, it's all of us that have credit card debt. When you have a credit card and you apply for a credit card and your credit, it's not the best, usually what's going to happen, the bank is going to give you a higher interest rate, right? Because your credit, it's not where it needs to be. If you have excellent credit, then you're going to have a better interest rate than someone that has poor credit. And just think about this example for a second, because this goes back into how do we manage our debt. $10,000 on a credit card that we owe. Imagine you having that particular credit card when you got the credit card, your credit wasn't the best, so you're paying a high interest rate. However, you're only paying the minimum balance. That's going to take you at least 10 years to be able to pay that back, and you're going to pay back more than $14,000 on interest in comparison to somebody that got the credit card, only making the minimum payment. However, they will only pay back $4,000 and change in interest. So that's the reason why it is very important for us to be able to check so we could continue to manage our credit wisely. Now, what's in your credit score? So the reason why it is very important for us to check what's in a credit score because there's a lot of companies out there that gets to see your credit. Now, I want you guys to write this question. This website, annualcreditreport.com, and like every class always has what is that called? Homework. I forgot. I almost forgot. I'm about to go back to school, right? Annualcreditreport.com. Do it tonight when you're there. Instead of going in through your Instagram and anything you have to do, go in, pull your credit report, see what everyone else is seeing. It is very important for you guys to check. Why? Because the credit bureaus do make mistakes, and it could be information there that doesn't belong to you, or it's all information and you want to get rid of it. Why? Because it's affecting your credit down the line. Now, what they see, they're going to report. It's going to be different sessions, right? It's going to be your personal information, such as your name, employment history, consumer statements, account information, public records, and credit inquiries. So I want to just go over little details, right? Personal information, make sure they have your correct name, your address, and everything. Employment history, make sure that's also there. Consumer statements is any accounts, any credit, anything that you have open is going to be there. Public records. I'm going to be very honest. Public records is one of the hardest things that I've seen that affects your credit. Why? What we have on the public records, it's medical records, medical bills that went on collections, and gentlemen, child support and alimony also goes in there as well. So whenever you see that section, you want to make sure you go there. Sorry. And then credit inquiries. Credit inquiries is every time you apply for a credit card or a line or loan, it's going to be there. What are we checking for? We're checking to make sure that the balances are correct, that the account information is there. And if you see any mistakes, please file a report. You could do it online. Nowadays, online is the easiest way. Online, by mail, through phone. The easiest way is online. There is a law out there that within 40 business days, they have to remove, if you have an old information or something that doesn't belong to you, they'll have to remove it off your credit, and then that will clear you out from that particular mistake that they made. Or depending on the actual line and loan that you have, if it's been over 7 years and it's holding you back, then you will also want to be able to remove that. And you do it by filing an actual report. Now, getting started with your credit. I did this class last night, and a lot of people looked at me like, oh my God, how do you get started? Or how do you fix it? Because you want to be able to fix it. Utilities can't report positively to your credit report to be able to help you increase your credit. How do they do so? For example, it usually happens, but it doesn't happen. You go to your phone company and you tell them, hey, I've been paying my my bill every single month. I haven't been late. Can you report that positively in your credit? Will they do it? Yes, they should do it, but you have to be consistent, because a lot of them don't like to do it because it takes more time for them to do it. Secure cards. Secure cards are our best way to start credit and to help you fix your credit. Why? You go to the bank and you say, hey, bank, I have $300, $400, $500. I would like to start with a secure card. What they do, they're going to run your credit based on how good or how bad they see. Then they're going to be able to give you a credit card in the same amount or maybe a little more, because they could trust you. And that's going to help you fix your credit as long as you stay under the 30% and you don't apply for additional credit. Because remember, everything we do gets reported again. And then every time I go back. And then co-signers. Co-signers are a great thing, right? Co-signers, if you want to buy a car, you go with that person that you trust, you co-sign with that. That helps your credit, and that will help you fix it or build it. And then authorized signers. I have a story for this, because I have a story for everything when it comes down to credit. My mom added me as an authorized signer on her credit card when I was 16. She never told me. Never at all. So when I went and applied for my first credit card, I thought I was going to get declined because I had no credit. But guess what? I had credit, and I had my first credit card in the amount of $5,000. I didn't know what to do with myself because I was in college, but it's great. Now I'm doing the same thing for my 17-year-old son. He doesn't know. I added him as an authorized signer, and he keeps asking me every single day, Mom, when can I start credit? I don't want to tell him yet because I feel he's still under that age, about to go to college. However, if you want to be able to help, and this is usually perfect for parents, please add them as authorized signer as long as that particular credit card it's in good standing. That helps people fix credit and build credit. So it's like that's how we manage our credit wisely. And then let's continue. Installment loans and revolving line of credit. So which type of payment impact your credit score the most or the least? So everything that we do when it comes down to borrowing affects our credit. Mortgages. I know someone said mortgages at the beginning of the class. Car loans, student loans, personal loans, credit cards, store cards. Anything that we do affect our credit. So if you are late on your mortgage, that's going to bring your credit score down. If you're late on a car loan, that's going to bring your credit score down. Student loans, personal loans, credit cards, store cards, even though a lot of us don't believe that store cards, but they do. Because like I have a Target card myself, and if I don't pay my Target card on time, that's going to bring my credit score down. In addition, always keep in mind the 30% because I have a Target card. However, every time I go to a Target, I overly spend, but I try to make sure that I keep it under that 30%. And then protecting your credit. How do we protect our credit? The best way is to not apply for anything if we don't need it. However, there are two types of credit inquiries. And remember, going back to what I said before, the credit inquiries affect your credit. Now, there's hard and soft. Hard credit inquiries, it's when you go in to the bank and apply for an actual credit product. Soft inquiries are like when you get all the mail at home, get, pre-approval letters, credit card pre-approval letters. And now employers, this is very important for us to be able to check what's on the credit. Employers are checking your credit score to see what's there. That does not affect your credit at all. The only thing that affects is when you go in and actually do an application, because then that's a hard inquiry. Now we're gonna play something, and maybe you guys can put it in the chat. You apply for a credit card at your favorite store. Is that a soft or a hard inquiry? You guys can put it in the chat. Hard, yes. Okay. Now let's see. Hard. Okay. All right. So you guys were yes, hard. That's hard. Yes. Now, a credit card company checks your credit and sends you a pre-approval in the mail. Is that a hard or soft inquiry? Soft. Okay, soft. All right. So yes, those are soft inquiries. Let's see the other one. An employer checks your credit as part of your background check. Is that hard or is that soft? Soft. Okay, soft. Yes, soft. Perfect. Yep. Now you apply for a student loan. Is that hard or is that soft? Hard. Yes, hard. Remember the physical aspect of you applying for an actual line or loan, it's a hard. Everything else, it's soft. All right, now understanding your credit report, securities and freezes. Why don't we use it? And what's the difference? Now, when it comes down to the credit report, if you have no plan of utilizing your credit, the best thing you should do is freeze your credit. And how do you freeze it? You call each credit bureaus, again, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and you tell them, hey, I want to put a freeze on my credit because I think someone stole my identity or I'm not going to be able to use it for the next 6 to 12 months. And what they do, they'll give you a passcode of your choice. You lock it, you freeze it, and no one is going to be able to apply for additional lines of credit. Why? Because then in order for you to go ahead and apply, then you have, somebody says only private student loans and parents plus. Okay. So only if you go in and call the credit bureaus again, then they will automatically take the freeze off and then you could apply. Someone has a question. I'm going to go back to your question in a minute. I know we're about the actual content is very short, and then I'll take Q&A after that. That's how you freeze it. The only problem with freezing, or I wouldn't say problem, the only issue when it comes down to freezing your credit score, in case of an emergency, if you need a loan right away, it takes about 48 to 72 hours for your credit to be, for them to remove the freeze. And if you need to get a loan right off the bat, it's going to be very hard because you got to call them and wait for the freeze to become open. Now, locking, the best way I can explain, it's whenever you lose your debit card, you go into your app and you lock it. Why? Because you can unlock it automatically, and that's how you protect yourself from your credit and everything that's happening. And another thing that you could do, it's monitor your credit. And nowadays, banks are so advanced that every bank out there, as long as you have a credit card with that particular bank, gives you the option of being able to just checking your credit scores and anything that you might need. On a monthly basis, they send you your credit score, they send you what to change, what not to change. It's always a good thing. Now, sorry. Now, today we went over understanding the credits report and everything. Make sure you have, and then I'll go back into Q&A. You pull your credit report tonight, see what's there. I tell you, there's a lot of incorrect information. Always track your credit score because those are the things that affects your credit on a monthly basis. This is only if you have, this is for those of us that already bank with Chase. But don't bank with Chase. You could go to Chase Credit Journey and be able to check your credit score, and that's what it looks like. And then if you have any additional questions, feel free to scan that particular QR code. I am not allowed to speak on any products and services with the bank. However, if you have any additional questions, personal questions, feel free to scan that QR code. I'm going to leave that QR code there. Now I am going to answer questions.
Well, Sherlyn, thank you very much. I know this information was very well received for all of us. So the first question I have here on the Q&A is from Ms. Stewart. I just want to confirm, when opening up new lines of credit, it should be every 6 months, correct?
It doesn't have to be every 6 months. It's just that, one, as a banker, right? Why would you want to open new lines every 6 months? And two, just keep in mind that the time frame has nothing to do with what are you applying for. As long as you can manage your credit. I know I've had the opportunity to sit down with clients that open accounts every 2 months. Why? Because they know how to manage their credit, and they keep the credit in good standing by never being late, by never applying for additional products that they do not need, and by keeping under 30% and not getting rid of the old line of credit, because then that also affects your credit. Okay. Any other questions?
Can I come in?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a very, very personal question. You gave a lot of great information. I was a victim of the identity stolen when they stole my wallet. I didn't know anything about how to freeze.
I think we lost her, right?
Are you there?
I think we lost. I think her connection.
Okay, so let's move to the next question when she comes back. If I owed multiple credit cards, is it better to consolidate or ask for a loan in conjunction with my husband?
Okay, so this is a great question because it depending of the dollar amount. Because at the end of the day, the person mentioned two things. You owe multiple credit cards. That doesn't mean that any other bank out there is not willing to give you a personal loan to consolidate. And you don't have to add your a co-signer as long as you can manage the payments yourself. Now, once you add a co-signer, keep in mind that that co-signer credit has to be decent enough and has to make enough to be able to make that payment itself. So either you could do it yourself as long as your income is there, or if you want to add the other person, just keep in mind that the other person credit has to be there as well as the income part.
This question is from Misoto. How do I add my children to co-sign?
As a co-signer, all you have to do is call the credit card itself, give them their information, and they will be able to get added to the credit cards. Two things though, remember, keep in mind, whenever you add a co-signer or an authorized user, which that could happen, they could call the credit card and get a replica of that credit card under their name, and they could go shopping. So, and when that happens, teenagers, especially me, I'm speaking from personal experience. Teenagers could go shopping and go crazy with new
You have to
sneakers.
keep an eye on them. Absolutely.
Exactly, because remember, they're not going to be responsible for the payment. You are, because you are the primary. So that's why, you want to either add them or don't tell them, or tell them and don't add them, because they have all the right to call that particular bank and tell them, I need a replica of the card, and they'll get mailed to them.
This question is from Miss Stewart. What is the FICO score based on?
Everything that you do. So it is everything based on everything that we discuss. So how you manage your finances, that's the FICO score. So everything that you do gets combined. And that's how we get the FICO score. So we check on every credit bureau and see, okay, this person has been paying on time in every single other line. Then
Hello,
that
I'm
makes it your
sorry,
FICO score.
Sherlyn. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I got disconnected at my end. And I was like, oh my God, I was freaking out, to be honest.
No, go ahead.
And you were talking about it, and I'm like, she's talking and I can't hear. So starting from the beginning, you were saying something about the credit, clearing the credit.
Mhm.
How do we do that? You were saying after the chapter 13, they congratulate me every year, and I'm like, listen, I didn't do the crime, and I'm paying the time. But I see it as a negative and as a positive. Once I
So,
finish in 3 years, how
okay.
does that clear my credit?
How do you clear your credit? So you let me go back, because I believe I lost the first thing you said. You said that you file for a
I had,
chapter.
yeah, I had to do a chapter 13 because they did me in for like, oh Lord, if I tell you how much they did me in, I almost had a heart attack when I found out. Yeah.
Okay, so the way you fix your credit after everything has been established and done. I'm not going to lie to you, especially when you file for bankruptcy. It's a long process. You
Yes.
need to pull your credit report, see what's there. Anything that's 7 years older, you can dispute it as long as you have the proof that you filed for bankruptcy and you're clear. Go back
Okay.
into the credit bureaus. That's part one. Then
I
part
did
two,
I did a chapter 13 and they gave me 5 years.
they
I'm
only give you
in it.
5 years.
Yeah. So I'm in it for 2 years now,
hmm
and I got 3 more. The bank, as you said, gave me a secure credit card, and they just converted it into into an unsecured credit card. So that's going to help me build up the credit.
Yes, that's going to help you build your credit. My recommendation, try to stay away from adding more
No,
credit cards,
no.
because then it's going to affect, and everything that you have built thus far is going to affect it again. So you are on the right path now. You just have to
Mhm.
give it time, and try to stay under the 30 limit, 30%. Do
Okay.
not use more than that. And remember, never, 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 never a late payment.
No, that's excellent. And then yeah. And then I was very good with my credit. I was very good. The only thing is that when my wallet was stolen, I reported it to the police. It never occurred to me to freeze my credit. And that's how they got me.
Now, another
So,
thing, you mentioned something perfect. Since you already been a victim of identity theft and you know the situations and the consequences, freeze your credit again. As long as you're not willing to apply for anything and it looks like you're not, then go right ahead.
that won't affect the regular credit card that I have now.
It's not going to affect it at all. Why?
Oh,
Because one
perfect.
thing has nothing to do, because remember, you already have that credit. That line is already open. You're just doing is preventing, if anyone out there still has your information, for them not to apply for additional cards.
Okay. And it won't affect once I add my grandson.
Nothing.
Perfect.
Well, if you add your grandson, going back, I think you missed that. Remember, that particular individual has access to your line of credit. Just
Yeah.
always keep that in mind. As long as you're okay with adding him and have no problem that this
He
person is
won't
not going to
know.
cost.
He won't know, like you said. Don't tell him.
All
Now,
right, there
as
you
far
go.
as the chapter 13, in 3 years, that's going to be cleared. Is that going to help to clear the credit to rebuild it
Yes.
again?
It
Because
at
it
the end of
shows I faithfully paid them.
Yes, at the end of the day, once you all clear, one of the things that I'm gonna recommend, go back to your lawyer as well and tell them that you don't want them to show that in your credit. They're gonna tell you that you're gonna have to wait at least 7 years because all information can get removed after 7 years, but it should not affect your credit going forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The
Good
next
information.
Next question, Sherlyn. I have a question from an anonymous user. Because my identity was stolen, I had to file a bankruptcy Chapter 13. This
That
was
was
due to
me.
the
That was
FTC. Oh, this was
That
you.
was
her.
me.
Yeah,
That
that was
was
her.
me.
Okay. Good. Just wanted to make sure you got it. Okay, excellent. Is there an alert on your credit card that tells you when your balance went above a certain amount? This way we can keep under 30% utilization.
Unfortunately, there's no alert because at the end of the day, think about this for a second. Banks will have to sit down and babysit every single credit card out there. So the only way is us checking. So what I do, because I'm human and I tend to overly spend sometimes on anything, vacations, X, Y, and Z, I just check my accounts at least twice a day. Make it into a habit of checking your accounts at least twice a day because you already know that number. You know that number that you cannot go over. So once you check, you'll be able to see, okay, I'm getting close to that number. I can continue to utilize this particular credit card. Let me move on to the other one and make sure I keep it under the same amount as well.
So why TransUnion score differs from FICO?
Why TransUnion score different for FICO? Because FICO is an average of all three. And then TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they have their own digit number based on how they receive the information. And I'll tell you what, every credit bureau get different information. That's why it's important for you to check in every credit bureau because there might be different information in each and every one of them because they get it from different sources.
Thank you. The following question, is there an age limit and how many cards can you add?
Age limit as to, so there, in order for you to apply as a
I'm assuming
first
it's for
time,
a teenager, I'm assuming.
yeah, as a first time teenager with a credit card, yourself as a sole owner is 18. If you adding an authorized user, depending on the actual credit card, could be as young as 13.
Is filing for bankruptcy a good decision?
It all depends on how much you owe. It depends on how much you owe and obviously your finances. That's something that, could be, you could sit down with a banker and they could go over different options to see what's there, but it's usually depending on how much you owe and how much are you willing to pay back. Because like I said, if you owe, let's say, and I'm just giving an example, $10,000 and you can make payment plans and your monthly payment is less, then that's a better option. Why? Because you're not doing a hard let's say a hard inquiry, something that's you're gonna have to hold your credit between 5, 7, 13 years, depending on the chapter of bankruptcy you file.
Similar question. How consolidation affects your credit? Is it better to consolidate or go to bankruptcy if you cannot pay all of the minimum payments?
So consolidation, the best way to do consolidation is two things, depending on how you're willing to do consolidations. And I'll tell you because I've been in the industry for over 17 years at this point. Consolidation, as long as you're making still the payment on time and you go get let's say a personal loan to consolidate all your debt, that's not going to affect you as long as you're making the payments. As long as your cars are still on time, that's not going to affect your credit. Why? Because all you're doing is going into the bank, getting a personal loan, and paying all your credit cards, and now that loan will be that one payment that you have a month. As long as you already have, let's say your credit cards are one that you owe on time, that's not going to affect. Remember, whenever you do a bankruptcy, that's something that stays on your credit. That affects your credit, that prevents you from getting additional credit. Not a debt consolidation loan that's not going to affect your credit. Because now what's going to happen? Now your credit card balances are going to decrease to zero, and all you have is one loan for that particular amount.
And this seems to be the final question. How are you not responsible if someone steals your identity and it affects your credit?
Okay. You are not responsible as long as you have proof that that was in you. It's not going to affect your credit. Now, it's going to be, I am not going to sit here and lie. It's going to be very hard to prove that you or anyone around you didn't have access to your information. This is why it's very important for us to prevent that from happening. How? By freezing your credit. That's the way you prevent it, because if anything happens, they cannot do anything. And usually, unfortunately, I've seen it so many times that people that get identity theft are usually with a family member, a care provider, anything of that nature. And I see it because I teach this another class similar to this for identity theft, and it's usually someone that knows you, that has your information, unless you were part of a breach. That's something that we can't control. And technology is it's so advanced nowadays that it can happen to any of us. It has happened to me when they steal my credit card number. Thank God it hasn't been my social, my full identity, but they steal my credit card information. I just have to report it to the bank. And obviously, go ahead.
Don't forget, even a coworker. Oh yeah.
It could be anybody close to you.
Yep,
anybody
yep.
close to you. So
Believe me, I'm just trying to figure out how MCU gave them 2 credit cards under my name. Hello.
And I tell you what, right? Because I don't sit here and talk about any bank or whatever. However, like I said, technology is so advanced that nowadays, if they have your information, they could apply for a credit card online or loan online.
And you don't know anything.
And you don't know. Like, I've done it myself. I apply credit cards online myself. They don't ask me for anything. And if I know, let's say, the person next door's information, you could put it online. And that's it. It's like a gift and a curse, technology. But that's why we have to make sure that we do our due diligence to make sure that we don't go through that. Any other questions?
Sherlyn, yes. I did one of those debt cancellation programs and I regret it. Yes, I save a small amount of money, but my credit score suffers so much and now I owe money in taxes. The canceled debt was reported as income. What can I do?
Well, in your case, you did the company's debt consolidation. It's going to be very hard. And especially when it comes down to the IRS. Obviously, I'm not no accountant. I am not no investment person. But in your case, you're going to have to go back to the credit bureaus and send them letters of apology. That's another way to help you fix your credit. You'll go online, send them, or through the mail, send them letters of apology stating that at that time you went through rough times and you were not able to make the payments on time. Now you do regret it and you would like them to remove that from your credit report so it could help clear your credit. But when it comes down to the IRS, then for that, you will have to sit down, let's say with an investment and accountant, to be able to tell you what's the right step when it comes down to the IRS, because the IRS, it's someone you don't want to play with. Any other questions?
I think that I have covered all of the questions. Any last minute requests?
Now, if you have any additional questions, sorry guys, if you have any additional questions that I will not able to answer, just scan the QR code. I know a lot of questions are very personal, and of course, a lot of us don't like to disclose that in front of anyone. That's why I put that there. And go ahead. I think there was someone else that was going to jump in.
Yes. One quick question. I'm currently taking to court from a debt collector. I'm currently on disability. And I was wondering, can debt collector take my money from my SSI?
No. And being a manager, being in the banking industry for a long time, one of the things that we're not allowed to touch, it's Social Security and benefits under a certain limit, but that varies depending on, let's say, the time. So I'll give you an example. This is an example because things have changed since I've been a branch manager, right? Technically, if you get, let's say, under $1,700 a month, they cannot touch that. That's your day-to-day living expenses. But it might vary now because things have changed.
Okay, thank you. I'm relieved.
Sherlyn, I want to ask another question.
Go
Going
ahead.
back to my personal situation with the Chapter 13. Once that's cleared, how is that going to affect my credit score?
How is that going to affect your credit score?
Yeah. Meaning,
Once it's going to be able to remember, once you get rid of that and it's been over the time frame, your credit should go up as long as you're maintaining and doing everything on the new credit card that you mentioned.
got it. Perfect. Oh my, mira, that had me growing crazy because I said I never owed money. I kept my stuff on time. Everything was paid for. It wasn't until I went to look for an apartment 7 years later that I found out that my credit was shot. And I was like, how can that be? And of course, I went to the bank and a customer service rep, I said, Anthony, please look and see what's on my record. I almost had a heart attack. I tell you
But
what they did.
you are doing it correctly. You're in the right path. Like I said, just keep doing what you're doing. My recommendation to you: freeze your credit so nothing can happen in the future. Because, like I said, you don't know what's out there. You don't know if someone still has your information.
Yeah.
And guys, please check your. If you have a bank account, check your apps every single day. That doesn't hurt. The same way, like I tell my son, the same way you go into TikTok every morning and your Instagram, go into your bank account. Make it a habit. Before I even, my coworkers, they make fun of me because instead of me going into my social media, I go to my bank account
I do
because
that every
anything can
day.
happen overnight. Yeah, anything
I'm
can happen
not,
overnight.
yes.
So
Okay.
Yes.
please go
So
ahead
when
and do
my
so.
so when
All
my
right.
grandson goes to
So in the
college,
best, Ms. Rivera,
yes,
we need to come to an end. If you could please be very brief. Thank you.
yes, I will, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you. When my grandson goes to college now and he applies for a credit card, then I just lift the freeze.
Yes, you leave
Got
the
it.
freeze and just make sure that you wait at least 3 business days and then call back again and it's reset the freeze again. Yes, so they don't have access.
You see, Mr. Sanchez, I made it sweet and clear.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. No, thank you.
I
Sorry.
think
So
that's
when you go to YouTube to access this information, what do you do? Like financial literacy empowerment series? What do you type up?
It will be published accordingly in the next couple of days. Stay tuned. You could visit Hostos Community College YouTube page and the video will be there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
perfect.
So I just wanted to thank you, Sherlyn, for facilitating such a productive and informative session.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say to all of the Hostos alumni in attendance to please remain engaged with our institution, as together we can make a positive impact in our communities and showcase the strength and talent of Hostos Community College alumni. I wanted to tell you as well to please save the day for our Laugh-a-thon. This is an exciting fundraising comedy show, which is happening on Thursday, October 24th. Get ready for an evening filled with laughter, fun, and entertainment, all in support of Hostos Community College students. Mark your calendars and stay tuned for more details. You won't want to miss this night of comedy for a great cause. Be sure to tune in today at 1 p.m. for our next topic, which is Budgeting 101, as part of our comprehensive financial empowerment series agenda. On behalf of Hostos Community College, the Division of Institutional Advancement, and the Office of Alumni Relations, as well as Ms. Sherlyn Santana, thank you for spending time with us. My name is Felix Sanchez. I'm the Alumni Relations Manager. Bidding you farewell. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you again at 1 p.m. Thank you very much and stay tuned. Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.